Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. So the sorority sisters of Kapa Kapa Gama from Wyoming, they filed a lawsuit because their sorority allowed a male student to join their sorority and live in the sorority house with them. There were some allegations made about some behaviour from the male student that made the girls feel very uncomfortable, and they filed legal action. Unfortunately, they lost their case. The judge decided that it wasn't the court's job to define a woman. The sorority had their own, bylaws, and the courts were not going to interfere. So unfortunately, that was a huge blow for these young ladies. There was about 6 girls from the sorority, and the sorority, of course, they were standing by their decision. They were very defiant. The testimony of the girls was even called drunken gossip. So they were essentially dismissed. But now they are appealing the decision. The time has finally come for their appeal to be heard. And Riley Gaines is on board with supporting these young girls as they pursue their appeal. It never even occurred to them that they could end up being in the house with a 6'2" male, 200 pounds plus. That never occurred to them. And this case raises the question of whether or not women have the right to the expectation to be in female-only spaces, when that space claims to be for women. And of course we do. Are the courts going to recognise this? The male student in question is Artemis Langford. Artemis has been interviewed by MSNBC, referred to as a brave woman. And Artemis has basically said, I'm the victim in all of this.
Being in a lawsuit and not knowing what happens next, especially with threats online and harassment, both physically and then online, has been very hard on myself and those that are in my chapter, and campus in general has been very affected because of that. It's very difficult.
Do people harass you on campus?
Do that.
Do they say things to you on campus?
There have been some confrontations and interactions. Some are more pleasant than one would think. Like, one person came up to me saying that, they were going to pray for me. I don't know in what context they wanted to convey that, but I thought it was like, thank you for praying for me. Others have been just very hostile with passive aggression or glares and bumps into you, like someone purposely tries to hit into you.
Oh man.
Those kind of confrontations, I'm grateful nothing has gone beyond that, fortunately.
Artemis is no longer part of the lawsuit. This is between the girls and their sorority, because they're saying to their sorority that you let us down. We joined the sorority for a sisterhood. We didn't join a fraternity. We didn't join a co-ed situation. We joined for a sisterhood. And now you're telling us that our idea of sisterhood should include males.
Yes, sorority members argued that their organization is only for women, and now they're hoping that judges here side with them.
I was scared at first, but I knew that standing up for women was the right thing to do.
Jalen Westenbrook is a senior at the University of Wyoming. She was a Kappa Kappa Gamma member when she says a new member was admitted into the sorority despite House members not issuing an invitation for her to join.
I was just absolutely blindsided and found out that a man was going through recruitment and he was not accepted through our formal recruitment process, but then all of a sudden he was accepted and given an offer to join our sorority through our backdoor recruitment process.
Westenbrook is referring to Artemis Langford, who identifies as a transgender woman. Langford joined the sorority back in 2022 at the University of Wyoming. Since then, 6 members of the sorority have taken their organization to court. The case first landed on the desk of a Wyoming District Court judge.
The Wyoming District Court basically looked at this as a case of dueling legal interpretations. So, the Kappa directors say woman means man, and you say woman doesn't mean man, and I'm not going to step into that. We're just going to let the Kappa directors do whatever they want. And that's why he tossed the case. Our framing of this case is that there was no such interpretation. They straight up took the word woman and they added to it.
Kappa Kappa Gamma's position statement on membership membership selection reads, quote, Kappa Kappa Gamma is a single-gender organization comprised of women and individuals who identify as women. Despite a lower court already tossing the case, the Independent Women's Law Center took the case to the U.S. Court of Appeals in hopes of gaining clarity on who can join a sorority and who cannot.
They said that now the membership is women and individuals who identify as women. So, but even if they were to say that this is an interpretation, it's not a good faith interpretation. It's not one that actually aligns with the bylaws of a sorority that's existed for 150 years.
And if judges with the Court of Appeals side with sorority members, then the case will be retried back in Wyoming in that lower district court. Attorneys today told us that they believe that it's highly unlikely that this case will reach a higher court.
So this person not only was given special treatment by basically bypassing all of the recruitment process and just basically entered via the back door, this person was allowed to join the sorority even though their bylaws say that the sorority is for women. However, they've now flipped it and said it includes people who identify as women. That is an addition to the bylaws that clearly these young ladies were not aware of. Their bylaws that were written, as she said, over 150 years ago, did not have trans people in mind when written. We all know this. Let's stop pretending that they were thinking of non-binary, trans women 150 years ago. Absolutely not. There were sororities and there were fraternities. That's it. They didn't think that this would be the state of their sorority in 100 years' time. Dudes in a sorority house with the girls claiming to be a woman. And I think the sorority is well aware of that. But they have since made changes, I guess. And they expect these young girls to accept those changes when that's not the terms by which they join the sorority. As Riley Gaines said, these girls were promised sisterhood and got the brother they never wanted. So she was at the courthouse, the girls were there, and they gave various speeches before going into court. So sisters Jaylene Westenbroek, Hannah Holtmeyer, Alison Cogan, Grace Coate, Madeline Ramar, and Megan Kossar are bringing the lawsuit against Kappa Kappa Gamma and its president, Mary Pat Rooney. They claimed Langford made them feel uncomfortable in the sorority house by watching them in intimate situations, something the trans member denied. Langford has been dropped from the lawsuit on appeal, and the case now centres around whether sorority rules allow the admission of transgender women generally. After hearing from both sides in the case, the 3 US 10th Circuit Court of Appeals took the arguments under advisement without ruling on Tuesday. An attorney for the sorority sisters, based in Laramie, Wyoming, told the judges the National Sorority Council was unfair to sorority members by changing the definition of who could belong. They want to change the definition of a woman. They want to change the definition to include males. And apparently the lawyer for the girls, she asked the sorority's legal team if that could include cis men. If we're going to say that the definition of a woman could be extended, why not include regular men? Why limit it to men who identify as women? Include the men who don't as well. So when they want to go to the club at half price or for free, they can just walk in and say, I'm a woman. The definition has been extended, don't you know? When they want to go into the bathroom, the men's bathroom is full or really disgusting, and they want to go into the women's, they can say, I'm a woman. The definition has been extended. Why stop there? Apparently they had no answer for that.
We just finished up oral arguments for the Kappa Kappa Gamma case in the 10th Circuit federal courts, and what we heard by the Kappa Kappa Gamma attorney was astounding. Little background on this case. This case is from the University of Wyoming Kappa Kappa Gamma chapter, where they allowed a male into their sorority and into their sorority house and into the showers with these girls. Insane stuff. This is the male in question, 6'2", 260 pounds. These girls were promised sisterhood and got the brother that they never wanted. which is exactly why they're suing. This case has been ongoing for a while now, but today both sides of the case got to assert their position. But what I heard in that courtroom from the Kappa Kappa Gamma attorney left me feeling entirely disheartened and demoralized. Their attorney said that woman is not a word with a singular definition. It has multiple definitions. She even went as far to say that the word woman is unquestionably not defined. She said that Kappa has the duty to interpret this word however they wish. And when questioned by one of the judges if this interpretation can mean anything, what about cisgender men? Can the word woman apply there? To which she literally responded with, she doesn't have enough research to understand if men is a reasonable definition for the word woman. I mean, we shouldn't be overly surprised considering we have a sitting Supreme Court justice who can't even answer the question of what is a woman because she claims she's not a biologist. But nonetheless, it's crazy that we have to debate what a woman is in court. The premise of the argument is that sororities were created on the explicit and utter grounds of being exclusive. But now society has deemed exclusivity as some way of marginalizing already oppressed groups. But I will be the first to say that exclusivity is not only important, but it's a good thing when safety, privacy, or equal opportunities are threatened. Hopefully the judges reach a sensible and reasonable conclusion soon.
Wow, so it was the judge who asked about, does that include cis men? So hopefully that's a sign that the judge is seeing how ridiculous these interpretations are. Why try to erase the definition of a woman? Why try to essentially make it meaningless? Why? And we live in a society that brags about how far women have come, brags about having the first, female vice president, the first black female Supreme Court justice. We're bragging about all the progress women have made compared to the 1950s, for example. But now you want to erase the very definition of a woman and what it means to be a woman. We can no longer rely on something being women only. When society has decided that it doesn't want to acknowledge the definition of a woman, it's not that they don't know what a woman is, it's that they refuse to acknowledge the definition. They refuse to acknowledge what a woman is. So thank goodness for these young ladies who are pursuing this court case. They didn't give up after losing the first one. They are continuing to pursue it. They're making these judges confront reality, because this is going to affect every woman, every girl who goes to college, wants to join a sorority, or any other woman-only space. If they're refusing to acknowledge what a woman is, we can no longer have those spaces exclusively for females.
Hey guys, it's Allie Kogan here. And Hannah Holtmeyer. And we are two of the plaintiffs in the Westernbrook versus Kappa Kappa Gamma case. And we got the honor and privilege of sitting in at the courthouse today in the 10th Circuit Court and watching our lawyer, May Mailman, argue our case. So Hannah, tell me a little bit about that. How do you feel it went?
I think it went really well. May just argued that at the end of the day, this is a plain and simple breach of contract, which it was. Kappa Kappa Gamma promised us an all-female sisterhood, an all-female sorority experience, and they broke that by admitting a biological male into our house. They ultimately destroyed a lot of bonds in our sisterhood, so they definitely breached that contract in more ways than one. How do you feel like it went?
I think it went really well. The other side did argue that the word woman is up for interpretation, but at the end of the day, a woman is an adult biological female, and everybody at this age has made it through a biology class. We don't have to explain it to you. You know the difference between man and woman. And so I truly believe that the judges will see that. And I think that our lawyer did a very good job. And I think we have a stronger case. So I'm very hopeful that the other side will be able to see that as well. At the end of the day, this is not a political argument. It is very much common sense and biology. So yeah. I'm very hopeful, and I truly believe that things will work out.
Again, what these young girls are doing is very commendable. And, going to court, all of this legal action, the long wait, it's not easy. They should be enjoying this time of their life, not fighting for courts to recognize the definition of a woman. And for a lawyer to say that she has to do more research to determine whether the definition of a woman should include men, you can't convince me that we haven't dumbed down exponentially as a society. I mean, for the Supreme Court Justice to say that she cannot define what a woman is because she's not a biologist, again, the dumbing down of society. And apparently it's cool to dumb yourself down because that's inclusive. You can't make this stuff up. You really can't. They're having to fight to be recognized. And I like what she said there. I like this approach. It is a simple breach of contract. They had an expectation and the sorority did not fulfill their end of the bargain. At the end of the day, it's a fact that Artemis is male. So no young girl joining a sorority believes that they're going to be in a sorority house with a male student. So yes, they breached their contract, in my opinion, because these young ladies were blindsided. This is just basic decency. You've now thrown them in a house with a 6'2" male. That's not what they signed up for. This is only going to come down to whether or not common sense prevails. These young girls didn't have a choice. They were blindsided. They must think that they were essentially tricked. They were lied to.
We were lied to. I don't like being lied to. I don't know about you. And it makes me not believe these people.
They didn't get what they signed up for. Thankfully, these young girls told their story, the evidence was heard, everything was laid out. So I really hope that the right decision is made. Mailman argued that by allowing transgender women into the chapter at the university, the National Sorority Council and President violated their obligation to sorority members to faithfully follow sorority bylaws. State law in Ohio, however, gives the volunteer board for the private Ohio-based organization wide leeway to define terms in those bylaws. But of course, there is the consideration of how far can the courts interfere in the practice of a sorority. So yeah, it says the argument that a court should be able to tell a private organization how to define a woman flies in the face of conservative skepticism about big government. The Wyoming LGBTQ+ advocacy group, Wyoming Equality, said in a statement. So they're saying, aren't you supposed to be conservative? You shouldn't be pushing for government interference in a private organization. They're arguing against the right of organizations to determine their own membership. Director Sarah Burlingham said, I am optimistic that the 10th Circuit will agree with Judge Johnson. When these young girls signed up to the sorority, they signed up based on the bylaws that were written 150 years ago. They did not sign up based on woke terminology and woke interpretations of what it means to be a woman. They did not sign up to a sorority believing that the leaders and organizers of that sorority didn't know what a woman was. I think if they were aware of that and that was made clear, I think they would have decided against joining the sorority. So their lawyer, Melman, said, we shouldn't have to say, here's why I need my women's space. Women's spaces should be protected, period. Absolutely. So let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. Take care of yourselves and God willing, I will see you in the next video.